Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have a perfectly adequate show for you today. It is fine, just fine, simply fine, and we can't wait to tell you all about it. Take it away, Jessica.
That was beautiful, Robby. So Trump made his return to X for a hyped-up interview with Elon Musk that was marred with technical issues. Once the interview finally kicked off about 30 minutes late, the two spoke for roughly 2 hours and talked about everything from Trump's assassination attempt to immigration, the economy, and the future of energy production. Trump's tone was similar to that of a campaign rally. Not much new information was revealed, but at one point, in between Trump's rambling, Musk seemingly pitched a job for himself in the administration. Let's listen.
I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent in a good way. And I'd be happy to help out on such a commission.
I'd love it
if it were formed.
Well, you're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, "You want to quit?" They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, "That's okay. You're all gone. You're all gone." So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But you know, if you look at Argentina,
well, I'd be happy to help
by the way,
out.
congratulations.
Yeah.
I just looked at the number of people that are listening to you and I.
At another point, Trump said that he warned Russia's Vladimir Putin not to invade Ukraine. Let's listen.
And I said to Vladimir Putin, I say, "Don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it." And I told him things that what I do, and he said, "No way." And I said, "Way." And you know, it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him again.
Trump also spent a lot of time talking about immigration problems.
To finish this up, we're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice.
Following the interview, Musk tweeted, quote, "Happy to host Kamala on an X Spaces too." So the first part of the interview was actually largely about the attempted assassination.
Yes.
Trump said a lot of the same things he said during his speech at the RNC. He said that he felt, so he was asked very pointedly about the Secret Service's performance because Elon giving voice to a lot of the people listening who were like, oh my God, how could they screw this up this badly? And Trump, said very nice things about the Secret Service agents who covered him, also about the local police officer who tried to engage the shooter, who was, Trump explained, really, he painted a pretty compelling picture of it, that the local police officer, tried to climb onto the roof, but it had to hold on with both hands, and there's no way he could get to his gun, and the gunman was immediately pointed a gun at him, and he had to drop down. He actually injured himself. Talking about the chaos on the scene, but saying that yes, absolutely, obviously they should have had that roof covered. It should have never been able to happen, and the investigation needs to take place. So that was all very interesting. And Elon said that from his perspective, Trump's behavior, his courage during that moment, Elon thought was very, very inspiring, and Elon kind of implied that led him to his newfound ironclad support endorsement of Donald Trump.
Right. Elon said you can't fake bravery in that moment when things are random and happening.
Yeah.
But this is a guy who spent, a lot of time watching WWE. I think Trump knows you can fake bravery and strength and make a meal out of a moment.
Well.
But he did also say at the RNC he was never speaking about this ever again, and he was only going to tell this story this one time.
That's true.
But I think he misses the feelings around him and the energy around him right after this happened. And by telling this story again, he wanted to bring it back.
Well, Elon asked him about it, so he couldn't have said, I guess he could have said no comment, but that's not a very Trump thing to do. You're right, he said he wasn't going to talk about it again. He mostly said the things he said. Then I don't think, look, you can have whatever attitude about Trump you want. I think it was incredibly brave to stand up, put your fist in the air. You don't know if there are other shooters. There's still going to be bullets flying. Was he aware that this was a good, maybe on some subconscious level, that if I do this is good for my campaign and my political image? Sure. That doesn't mean it's easy to do it in the moment. When your life is when you've been shot, when you're bleeding, some kind of instinct takes over, and his instinct is toward, yes, certainly for political self-promotion, but God, there was a power in what he did. I think it's possible to admit that, even if you don't like anything else about Trump.
That's hilarious, Robby. The reaction options are fight, flight, political promotion, and Trump's instinct is the third.
Well, yeah.
Funny to imagine in his most basic state, that's what he thinks.
I don't know. I think standing
leader,
up
they
amidst
say.
a hail of gunfire and wanting the crowd to know you're all right, which that's what he said. He wanted to reassure everyone who was there, who was his supporters, who love him, that he was fine and he was okay and he could get up, and he had not been shot seriously in the head, thank goodness. So they spent a lot of time on that. Then they moved on to immigration and other subjects.
Right, yeah. My favorite part of the assassination attempt was I really didn't like the stretcher. I didn't like that. Yes, Elon getting into assessing the use of tax dollars. He talked a lot about how government overspending is what causes inflation. There's a lot more that goes into the calculation than a balanced budget.
Well, there's more, but it's part of the problem.
But that's not how Elon put it. He said anytime the government spends more than they take in taxes, the dollar is devalued. Talking about the dollar in terms of supply and demand, just really a fifth grade level of analysis from Elon. But
I don't think
the
that analysis is
Congressional
inaccurate.
Budget Office already assesses how public dollars are spent and how tax dollars are spent. That's already built into our governmental structure. Does he want Bernie Sanders' position as the chair of the Budget Committee?
No, he wants the government to operate the way most households do or private businesses do, where you have
bureaucracy.
You can only spend the money you raise. So you're right that the government doesn't have to operate that way because they can just print more money. But if they're spending more than they're taking in, they print additional money, and then that has a devaluing effect on the currency. That's why our dollar is worth less and less and less. So it is connected to the spending, not because how they cover their spending is printing more money. Right?
If they were to take in every single dollar in the U.S. deficit, the total amount of money would be zeroed out. The money has to come from somewhere. And so the best example of this,
they create it.
They create it. And
that devalues the money.
No, because the money has to come from somewhere. The economy requires money in order to make things happen.
Well, yeah, we're not.
You need money to make money. So in the case of when the United States was first being founded, there was this thing called the Virginia Notes. The government said, all right, we're establishing a colony. How is this going to work? We need people to fish. We need people to grow food. We need people to make clothes. And so how are we going to motivate people to partake in this society when so many colonies have collapsed? So they came up with this thing called the Virginia Note, and it was their currency. And the government decides, okay, we're going to produce all of these. We're going to give them out. And everyone, if they want to partake in our society, they have to pay taxes at the end of the year. That created demand for the currency. They would owe the government the notes. So people exchange notes for various things. The farmer could get fish and what have you. And then at the end of the year, they collected all of the notes in taxes and they burned them because the government doesn't need to take in taxes. Money is a tool for organizing our society. And thinking about a currency issue or like a household who's in debt to someone, the U.S. government issues bonds because they want to, not because they have to. That also creates demand for the currency.
Yeah, how things were done in some utopian colony with like 50
this
people
was a real
is
place.
Probably not
And
a good model for the U.S. economy.
This was a real place that became a successful colony that developed into the state of Virginia.
Yeah.
This was some of the first parts of society in the United States.
The government should collect and burn all our money?
When
What
the
is the lesson
government
here?
collects taxes, they don't go anywhere. They're not paying themselves off. It's a matter of accounting.
I don't understand what you're saying, but I don't want the government to collect taxes. I want the government to spend less of our money. You're right that money has no, I think we're just talking about, I agree and understand that money has no intrinsic value, is like the innovation for how we move to a more efficient economy from like a barter economy, but that it's representing the fundamental issue where people have stuff and want to exchange the stuff they have for other stuff. And instead of being like, here's some lumber for some bricks, you have, here's some lumber, how much money are you going to give me for it? And then I use that money and then I buy bricks or whatever else. But it's not, yes, the money has no intrinsic value, but if the government just floods the supply with more and more money, then people start saying that the effect of that is then the price of everything goes up because there's more money in the supply.
there's an initial onset where, like, the person who creates lumber in our society today, you need to purchase the big trucks that they carry the logs on. You need to purchase the machinery to cut down the trees. You need to pay workers to go out and do the logging. There's a whole process there where you need money on the onset to make people mobile. And it needs to be a currency that's valuable. Typically, in the world we have today, it's because it's enforced by the government. Yes, but capital is money, it's dollars.
Yeah.
And so then these people who are working there make the lumber, that's sold of value, that's collected by the person who runs the company, and so on and so forth. They pay a share of that into taxes. That's what creates demand for dollars versus some other currency. This is how a system of money works. And yes, there's a point in time where additional capital injected to the economy, there's no more workers to pay or resources to purchase, and you can't be more productive. That's the real constraint to spending. And it can be inflationary, but it doesn't have to be. And this wasn't inflationary because the output gap is negative, which means too many dollars weren't chasing too few goods. And the Congressional Budget Office, which assesses all of this as a part of our government, said it's because full employment wasn't actually where we were at when we started spending. We had real slack in the economy and more productive resources to put to use.
All I know is if you have some ore and I have some sheep, we can trade them and we can make a settlement, Settlers of Catan style.
That's beautiful.
More Rising right after this.